Welcome back to CBS News 24/7. The suspect in the slayings of 2 Israeli embassy staffers outside Washington, D.C.'s Jewish Museum, he says he's not guilty. Elias Rodriguez faces multiple criminal charges, including a hate crime. Let's go live to CBS News Justice reporter Jake Rosen. Jake, you were at his arraignment today. What stood out to you?
Well, it was a very simple hearing, Reed, in which attorneys for Rodriguez put in a not guilty plea and said that the government had just given them tons of data relating to not just the iPhone that Rodriguez had, but also security footage, documents that the FBI and the investigation into him and his alleged actions on that day outside of the Capitol Jewish Museum here in D.C., all of which the government attorney said is about 500 megabytes of data plus a number of other things. His attorney said they need time to review it. So what the next steps in this case are going to be is Rodriguez obviously is still in prison for the murder that he admitted to, according to police affidavits that were issued after his arrest. And he has pled not guilty. He will obviously fight this to try to potentially fight off the death penalty, but you cannot rule out some kind of agreement there. Attorney General Pam Bondi and the D.C. U.S. Attorney here, Jeanine Pirro, have both said they're planning to go after Rodriguez for the death penalty. The trial will not be this year. The next any kind of court filing in this case will be in December, but certainly something to keep an eye on as we talk about violent crime here in the nation's capital, as this was the most significant incident this year in terms of violence, specifically in the downtown area, which is currently policed, as we've covered for weeks, by National Guard and law enforcement here.
All right, and that's a perfect jumping off point, Jake. Let's talk about Washington, D.C. and the district suing the Trump administration over his deployment of the National Guard there. Could what happens in this specific action speak to other cities and what is happening with the National Guard? I'm thinking of New Orleans. I'm thinking of Oakland. I'm thinking of Chicago.
Absolutely. And, you know, it took a couple of months, but the domino fell from a decision in Los Angeles earlier this week after the Trump administration deployed National Guard there. A judge ruled, and the Department of Justice has appealed this, but that the way that the National Guard was deployed in Los Angeles violated an over 100-year law which prevents the military from being used for domestic law enforcement purposes. In specifics, Reed, part of what they were used for were traffic checkpoints, evidence collection, in addition to just not the designated assignment that they were given in the first place, which again is the same here in Washington, D.C., to protect federal buildings and federal personnel if necessary to do so. This tees up another legal battle. The D.C. Attorney General is citing this Los Angeles decision, saying that the way that the National Guard have been deployed here is inappropriate. Obviously, it took a couple of months to get that decision out of Los Angeles, but as the Trump administration teases sending the National Guard into places like you just mentioned, Baltimore, New Orleans, Chicago, certainly something to keep an eye on, as if the federal appeals court out west also sides with this lower court judge that what the Trump administration is doing is wrong. This judge could also be inclined to follow that route, whoever gets assigned to this case, setting up yet another high-stakes battle about what President Trump's authority is in using the National Guard and how they're used once they're officially rolled out on the ground.
CBS News Justice reporter Jake Rosen, thank you so much for watching that one for us.